Welcome to Side Alpha Leadership, a podcast where leaders can share their experiences and discuss what leadership means to them. I'm your host, David Polikoff. Hello and welcome to this month's edition of Side Alpha Leadership. I'm your host, David Polikoff. On the phone, I have a returning guest, RJ, good friend of mine, president of Capital Fire Training, career firefighter, volunteer firefighter, pretty much jack of all trades, special ops, everything else. I've had him on the show before. We talk about a myriad of issues and topics and things like that. So without further ado, RJ, welcome back to the show.
What's up, man? Thanks for having me, bro.
Absolutely.
Glad to be
So,
back. It's been a while.
man, it has been a while. You know, I usually get a lot of people here when we do the show. I usually get a lot of returning guests because we all know each other. So it actually gives really good conversations because we're all we commiserate with the same things and we believe in the same things. So it makes the conversations go pretty good. That's why you'll hear Frank Ritchie and Sam Villani on the show quite a bit because, you know, it's things that we talk about. We're all in the same arena. So one of the things we're going to talk about today, you talked about wanting to speak about mentorship. We'll probably, like I always do, we go into officer development and how we develop our people, how we develop officers, and all that keys in on having good mentors and for the older members that are getting ready to retire, that succession planning and passing on what you've learned in your career, good and bad. You got to do both. To the younger members that are coming in, explain to them why we do the things that we do, talk about the traditions in the fire service. One of the things that we like to do when we teach with Capital Fire, especially when we're doing our force prevention program, we talk about all the tools and how they develop to what they are today and the reasoning why we use them and where they came from. So all that stuff's important. Well, whether you think about it or not, that's a form of mentorship. You're giving knowledge to the younger generation or to the newer firefighters that are coming in. Some of them might not be young, might be older, but they're learning about the traditions, and the fire service is steeped in traditions. So let's talk a little bit about mentorship and mentors and what it means to you as RJ, you being a mentor, which you have been, and also how you've had people take you under their wing and show you the way, because we came from fire department families, but we had to learn somewhere. So let's talk about what you have found that has helped you being the person mentored, and then how you become a mentor.
Yeah, man. So I take the mentorship pretty serious, and I realized over the years how much people invested in me. And I think when we talk about mentorship, we have to look at it as an investment, right? We are investing time, we are investing energy, and we're investing knowledge into the other person. I don't forget the investments that people made into me, my father, my uncles, all the other guys who have mentored me, Frank, his brother John, all those guys mentored me at a young age. They invested a lot of time, energy, knowledge into me. If it wasn't for their investment in me, hell, me and you wouldn't even be friends because I wouldn't even be here in Maryland. You know what I mean? And it was their leadership, their guidance that got me down to Maryland into the college living program. And so when I look back at the investments people made into me, I only feel that it's right to pay it forward. And now being that kind of guy who's investing into other people. I obviously I'm in an officer role in my department, so I have a little different role of mentorship to new people coming into the fire service as I did when I was a senior man at 3. The roles were a little different. I take mentorship very serious, and I think sometimes us as fire service leaders, instructors, we don't do a good enough job talking about what mentorship is and how we invest in the people. We talk about having them, but we never talk about what it takes to be a good one. Um, right, wrong, and different. When I was a mentor, I unfortunately had, I guess I could say fortunately slash unfortunately, had two young kids that I was in charge of mentoring that came onto the job. One came out of one class, and one came out of the class right after that. Um, I put a lot of time and energy into those young boys. And here's the deal, Dave. When I talk about mentorship, man, a lot of times some people get it twisted that mentorship is, hey, I'm here, it's my shift, and I'm here to teach this guy everything I can teach him during this shift. And then you don't talk to the guy, hear from the guy, see from the guy 2 days later or 3 days later, whatever your shift schedule is, and then that guy's back to mentoring again. Mentoring for me is a 24-hour, 365 job. Um, it was important that when I was mentoring these two young boys, that I made sure that I talked to them every day. In fact, I had to be like a dad. I had to be like their dad. I would call them, make sure everything was on the up and up before we even got into talking about their rookie books, talking about tactics, anything like that. I would just call to check in on them. How you guys doing? What's new? How's life? How's your girlfriend? How's your girlfriend's situation? Just keep tabs on them, right? And before we even get into anything fire department related, me just checking in on them, that lets them know that I care, right? I'm involved in their life, not just fire department, but I'm involved in everything that they have to do. They are now pretty much stuck with me. They're like, it's funny, Dave, they actually call me dad. They still do. They call me dad, because I had to be involved with their lives. And then we got into fire department stuff. Hey, where you at in your book? What are you working on? Do you have any questions about what we covered last shift? Or do you have anything that, jogged your mind on your ride home, whatever? And then we just got into talking about tactics. A lot of times we would talk about different calls that came out. Hey, I'd make sure that they had the scanner app in their phone when a call went out while they were off duty. They tuned in, they listened to the box, and then we would talk about it. Hey, what did you guys hear? What did you think? What are some considerations you think about when you go to this particular area, so on and so forth. The other thing is we worked at a busy station, so a lot of times those guys, they were on the ambulance and I was not, so they were on more calls than I was. But one of the biggest things was I had to be available. So, the nighttime when it got a little bit quieter, I still had to stay up to be available to help them, to help go through their stuff, answer any questions. Um, and then days off, and on days off, we're driving around town, we're looking at stuff, we're walking the beat, we're checking out, the area. I gotta point these things out to them and show them that. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Absolutely. A couple of things that you said, and you and I talked about this offline a little earlier, is when you not only decide, you're their preceptor, for lack of a better words, but you're also their mentor, and like you and I talked about, your phone never gets turned off.
No.
You're on it for 24/7. These guys need to have access to you. Within reason. Obviously, you have to have some boundaries, but to bounce some questions, or if something's going on in their rookie book that they don't understand, or there's an assignment due but they need some help, or even taking it to the personal level, they've got some stuff going on. They need to be able to reach out to you, and you can give them the advice that they need, or if they've got something that's happening that they need to take time off of work, or something's going on at home, if you've got a crisis, where you can connect with the captain or the lieutenant, and all of you can work together. That's what being a mentor is all about. Is not only just being there for the academic stuff, but also that you have an investment in them for their duration on probation for the fire department stuff, but you have a vested interest in them with what's going on in their personal life, because we all know that personal things, the old school is, oh, you leave your personal stuff at home, but sometimes that doesn't happen. It comes to work with you. It's things that you carry. So having somebody that's vested in you and cares can help you or help them navigate through life. We are getting a lot of young people that are coming in that weren't brought up in the same environment that we were brought up in. They're in the age of everything that they need is at their fingertips. So when they have problems, these real world problems that happen, these 18, 19-year olds that nothing bad has ever happened, and now something has happened. Well, you've got the experience behind you as someone who's older and been in the fire service a little bit longer and knows the ins and outs, can help them, guide them through, and that's what it's all about, you
Yeah,
know.
100%, Dave. And here's the other thing, man. I forgot to mention this earlier, but I'll be honest with you, man. For me, it was also keeping me sharp. One of the things that I have to do with the young guys when they come in is they have to do performance objectives. They have things that they have to make sure they hit for their sessions. So in Frederick County, where I work at, there's 6 sessions for the rookies, and each session covers a different topic. So you have when they first graduate, they have the ambulance session, which they have to get real familiar with procedures for riding the ambulance and operating on the ambulance, so on and so forth. And then they have the engine session, the truck session, the rescue squad session. They have a general session. So there's a lot of different sessions that they have to cover. Along with that, each session, they have to cover policies and procedures, run routes, all that. So not only is it helpful for them, but it's also helpful for me, right? There's things sometimes the policy might slip our mind. There's something we haven't brushed over in quite some time. And, there might be, an area of the first due that you might have not ran a call in a while. So, by going through that stuff with them, it keeps you sharp, right? It keeps you in the know of how to look up a policy, how to reference one, how to show them where it's at, and not only that, the policy itself that you may have not gone over in quite some time. So that's one thing I did forget to mention, but it is a key part of this. Is mentoring also helps the mentor, and I think that's a benefit for anybody who's a mentor, to look at it as a way of bettering yourself as well.
Yeah, get it into the policy, especially when these rookies come out, they're looking at policies that you haven't looked at in 3, 4, 5 years. So it is a good review for you, and it also pays dividends when you go to take your next promotional test, and you've got that little bit of leadership that's under your belt, of mentoring somebody. You've got the policies that you've been able to kind of browse through, and not only that, the administrative portion of making sure that their paperwork's done. And I know the preceptors and mentors for the recruits that came out of the class in Montgomery County, it fell on the captain to make sure that it was done, but they usually assigned a mentor or a preceptor to that person, and making sure that paperwork is done. And when as when I was the battalion chief, I ultimately had to look at their packet before I signed off on it. My standing order was that packet needs to come to me complete, grammatically correct. The spelling is correct. It's in the proper sentence construction, all that stuff. So not only were we teaching these new guys how to write successfully and correctly. I'm also instilling those values on the mentor is you need to be able to understand what that looks like. So it makes everybody a little bit stronger when you have a really good mentor. And the first time that you take somebody under your wing, it's a little rough, but you get better as you go. And those members, when they come off probation, they will remember you and how you treated them and how you helped them. And that builds credibility and respect towards you as the mentor. And we've all talked about, you earn respect, and it takes a lifetime to build up all that respect. And it only takes, a couple of minutes to ruin, your reputation. So
Yeah, easy.
it's a win-win situation when it's done correctly.
And here's the other thing, Dave. When we talk about the done correctly part, right? I'm gonna be honest with you. I'll be honest with everybody listening to this right now. Being a mentor is a daunting task. It's tiring, right? I have not only my own family, my wife, my kids that I have to manage, but now I have to tag on another one. And so I have to call them when they don't call me. I have to check in. Hey, where you at? What you doing? And I have to consistently stay up on them. Um, the consistency is huge, right? When they see that, hey man, my mentor is not going anywhere. He's going to be in my ass. He's going to be making sure my stuff's done. So I got to have my shit done. Like, when you do that, it's tiring, right? And I'll be honest with you, at the same time, I had the one rookie just finishing up. I got the second one. So that's literally starting the process all over again. And again, now I got to call two people and I got to check in on this guy. I got to check in on that guy. I got to make sure this guy's good. I got to make sure that guy's good. Got to the point where I was able to do FaceTime with both of them at the same time. And we just had group discussions every night. So, it should be a tiring task. And honestly, the way we did it, which I thought was pretty cool, right, wrong, and indifferent. But each time a new recruit came out of the academy, that person got assigned a different mentor. So it just happened to be that I had to take over the mentorship of the second guy that came out. But yeah, man, it is definitely a never-ending job and a tiresome job at that. But at the end of the day, man, I gotta honestly say, Dave, that when you look back, right, both of these kids are no longer, I call them kids, but both of these guys are no longer rookies anymore. They're now leaders of our department. And it's amazing when I look back and I see them being leaders. I see them leading drills that I led with them. I see them coaching people through uh, the job, teaching them things that I showed them. That's rewarding in itself. And then to me, I can sit back knowing, you know what, man, I know that I set a good trend, and that trend is them taking the information that I invested in them and them investing it back into the other people. Just like how when we started this podcast, we were talking about investment, right? And the investment is, hey man, if somebody puts something into me and I put it into somebody else and somebody else puts it into somebody else, now we have a trend of people, passionate, caring, and into the job. And isn't that's what we want? That's the dream. That's what we're all shooting for in this business, right?
Absolutely, and making that investment in somebody, and again, like we talked about, uh, for the last almost 20 minutes, is you took the time and showed that you care and you want them to succeed when they come off probation and they move on to another station as they get some time under their belt. Then they get tasked to be that mentor, that preceptor, and they give the same care and the same amount of energy and passion towards that new guy. And then, like you said, when that new guy gets a little bit of seniority, and then they're just going to pass it on. And that's what we're talking about. That you always hear somebody, oh, you want to make sure you leave the fire service better than it was when you got there. And that's not lip service. It's what it should be. We should be striving to make the fire service better than it was when we got here. And if we continue to do that, then we can probably overcome a majority of the issues that we find in the fire department just by investing in the people, letting them know that I'm glad you're here. We need you here, and we want you to be the best that you can be. And if you raise that bar and they meet it, then they're going to take that passion and that energy, and they're going to expect that from the next person. And like you said, at the end of the day, don't we want a bunch of passionate, aggressive firefighters that are totally into the job?
Yeah, people who
And,
people who actually care.
and performing, absolutely, performing at a high level. You don't have to run hundreds of thousands of calls a year in your jurisdiction. If you run 300 calls a year at your station, those 300 calls are top. You're given top care. You're an aggressive firefighter. You handle your business. Then that's what it's all about. You don't have to be an FDNY in order to show that you're aggressive and that you are into the job and that you know the job and you're creating good firefighters, whether they're career or volunteer. The fire service is the fire service, and that we should be striving to be the best, regardless of where we are, whether it's rural, urban, or suburban. Doesn't matter.
It's funny. So check this out, man. Back when I was a senior man, right? I told my guys I mentored, Because one of the biggest things I noticed in the fire service is that a lot of people, they come in the job, especially young guys coming on the job, they don't have any leave, right? So I noticed like they get 24 hours leave, they burn 24 hours leave. You know how like when we were coming on the job, or we were always taught save your leave. You never know when you're going to need it. But I noticed a lot of younger guys now, they burn a lot of leave, right? So it's funny because when I was the mentor, I told my guys that I mentored, I said, listen, if you think you're going to call out sick, you call me and tell me before you call the sick hotline, because I want to know what your ailment is, and I'll tell you if you're sick or not, and that'll dictate if you're calling out or not. But it is my expectation that you are coming to work, and we can work through a cold, we can work through a runny nose. But if you're sick, cool, I get it. We can't control that. My guys never called out sick. My guys never called out sick. And here's the funny thing, Dave. I worked at the firehouse not too long ago as a boss, and one of the newer guys come out of the academy, and I heard the guy I mentored. I heard him telling the new guy, "Hey, man, this is the rule on sick leave. You can call out sick, and this is the number you call if you're gonna call out sick, and you leave this information. However, as your mentor, if you think you're gonna be sick, you call me, and I'll listen to it, and I'll determine if you're sick or not, because I don't want you burning your leave." And I sat back and I was like, well, goddamn, this is but definitely mentorship, right? Because now you have one guy who is now teaching somebody else, hey man, save your leave. We're not going to burn it just because you get it. And now, what do you think that guy will do when the next class comes out, right? When he gets the next mentor, and he's probably the mentor to somebody else. It's just a trickle down effect that you started that keeps going. And then sometimes it's not even something you started. It's just something that you're continuing. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And like you said, you didn't start it, you learned it, but you're passing it on. And again, at the end of the day, we want to make sure that when we send these guys out, we've done everything that we can to make them successful, to make them safe, but to make them aggressive. And they're a reflection on you. And
Yeah.
that's the biggest thing. People need to understand that when that rookie comes into the station and they're assigned to you, when they leave, they're a reflection on not only you personally, but your shift. And that's a huge undertaking. So people need to understand that.
Yeah. And you're not going to go ahead and embarrass me.
Yeah, that's for sure, 100%. But yeah, so again, people need to take serious that we need to make sure that we are giving these new guys and gals every opportunity to succeed. We don't want we don't want a bunch of turds out there that are coming out into the field, because, like I said, that's a reflection on you. And I know you and all the other people that have ever been on this podcast, that they're not going to tolerate, a C-level firefighter. You're going to be producing, A- to A+ firefighters. And at the end of the day, again, like I said, it's a reflection on you and your shift. And, yeah, like you said, you're not going to embarrass me when you go out
No,
there.
but and here's the other thing, Dave, right? Nobody wants to be bad, right? Nobody wants to get in this business to suck. Nobody wakes up every morning saying, well, how can I go to work and suck today, right? So, like, nobody wants to do bad. It's just if they're not led, especially when you look back at your experience, a lot of the guys that, we all teach with from Capital, right? You look back, a lot of guys have some experience to lean on, right? And so when you look at the fire service now, we're getting a lot of people in the fire service who don't have experience to lean on. This is their first job or their second job out of high school, and this is their first real job, right? So they don't have that experience to lean on, so they don't have the ability to just be with it. So it all falls on the shoulders of the mentor. It really does, and nobody wants to suck, right? But if somebody's sucking, it's probably because somebody's not teaching them right, or spending the time to teach them. Here's another thing I learned, right? And not only learning this in my own home, but learning this, as we travel all over the country teaching. But people learn differently, right? Everybody learns differently. Not two people learn the same. So, sometimes when you're mentoring somebody, you might have to look at that person themselves and say, all right, what does this person understand? How does this person tick? And how can I deliver the information to them and deliver an information where it makes sense and it sticks with them? That's the most important part, right? Being able to, excuse me, being able to reach the person that you're mentoring. Um, I think that when you realize how to reach a person and how to deliver a message where it's received from the person on the other end, I think you can sit back and say, wow, man, I really am understanding the value of teaching, because now I can teach, and each person that I teach who has a different learning capability is comprehending the message. Now you're actually falling in line with the placeholder of a fire service leader. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and you need to make sure, you're talking about, how different people learn differently. You need to make sure that your rookie or your new guy feels comfortable asking you questions. You need to put that right up front. In recruit class, it can be intense. In recruit school, where people don't want to talk too much or speak up a lot because they don't want to be that guy or they don't want to get yelled at. But when they get into the station, you almost have to say it is imperative that you ask questions if you don't understand something. Because a lot of times, as firefighters, especially when we've been doing it for so long, we take it for granted, the little things. So, I was taking a class today and we talked about, how we talk to people, instead of telling them, I need you to go clean the bathrooms, you may actually have to take them in there with you and show them how the bathrooms are supposed to be cleaned, for firehouse standard. I could tell my son, go clean his bathroom. And then when I go up there, I'm like, what the fuck? This thing looks like shit.
Yeah, yeah.
Because it's not my expectation, or I didn't front load, my expectations. So you show them, that's all part of teaching. Like, hey, when you clean the bathroom, we need to make sure that, this is how we use, these are the brushes that we use. This is the cleaner that we use, so you show them, but they need to feel comfortable asking questions. That goes a long way, because then they'll be comfortable coming to you to talk about other things that either may be bothering them or things that they don't get. Maybe they're having some issues at home. You talked about, how these guys are burning their leave, which I never got either. I had leave was used, annual leave was used at a last resort. Sick leave you never used. Yeah, I remember you come to work sick. You got the flu. As long as you can function, you come to work sick. But these guys are burning leave, so those are things that you need to talk to them. Like, hey, man, if you got a cold, you come to work, because that's what we do. We expect you to be at work. Some of the other things that I talk to these young guys about, these new guys that are coming in, is how you save your money. A lot of these, like you said, 18 years old, this might be their first job, maybe their second job, and that first paycheck that comes, that's more money than they've ever seen in one time. And they could end up really putting themselves in a hole. I'm going to go out and buy this new Corvette or whatever because I've got all this money now. Next, they're in a hole. So save your money. And I used to tell guys, when you are working, make sure that you live in the means of your shift, not of your overtime, because overtime could go away. The other thing I talk to them about is deferred comp. And I say this all the time. I got into deferred comp a little late in my career. I probably had about 6 years on the job before I got into deferred comp. But let me tell you, now that I retired from Montgomery County and I took that deferred comp and I transferred it over to my account with my accountant, that's a pretty penny. That's a lot of good money. So we tell people, plan for the future. You're 18 years old now. You don't see the future, but plan for the future. Save your leave. Don't live beyond your means, and bank your money. And it goes a long way. I mean, that has nothing to do with the fire service, but everything to do with life skills.
Yeah, yeah. You're 100% right, man. And I think a lot of times, I had to do that with these these guys. You know, it was one of them. I remember one of the other guys on the shift had to show him how to change a headlight. One of the guys, just kind of showed them life itself. You know what I mean? And as the fire service, we changed the age that we hire, We used to be 21, now we're 18. So we're getting kids right out of high school, man. And so like, they really don't have any life skills. These young guys and girls, they're learning how to cook for the first time. They're learning how some of these they don't even know how to cook, but they're learning how to cook for the first time. They're learning how to do these life skills. And honestly, it is rewarding. It is rewarding when you look back and see, that these young guys are building for their future. They're setting themselves up for success at a young age. These guys getting on the job now at 18 years old, they're going to be able to retire in their 30s and early 40s. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things where if you don't teach them now, you don't set them up now, they're gonna be screwed later, and in fact will be screwed later because we are the ones who have to work with them. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. And just to go back to talk about life skills, because I think this is important that the audience needs to understand. These kids that are coming in, and I call them kids because they're 18 years old. Parenting styles are different than when you and I were growing up. If I did something wrong, I got a belt or I got hit, because you did something wrong. I remember going through high school cadet class, and when we did something wrong, we got smacked in the back of the head. You wouldn't even think about touching anybody nowadays.
Yeah.
But these life skills, they've probably never loaded a dishwasher. They've probably never cleaned their bath. They probably never ran the vacuum at their house. So you are at square one. So being a mentor, being that preceptor isn't just about teaching them firefighting. It's teaching them to be an adult. And I know there are maybe some people out there that disagree with me that, that's not my job. It is your job 100%.
It's all our
Because
jobs. It's all our jobs.
if you really think about it, what's the percentage of calls? That's like 10% of our day. The other 90% is making sure the firehouse is clean. I mean, for crying out loud, when these rookies get off probation, what's their responsibility? What do they owe the shift when they're coming off probation? They got to cook a meal, right?
Yep.
Yep. You got to cook that rookie meal. And I think that's pretty standard everywhere. And what I used to tell the rookies when I would teach it at the academy, I said, you will cook a dinner. You're not going to order something. You're going to cook it with your own hands. I don't care if you bring your mom in or your girlfriend or your wife and they help you. You're going to cook it with your hands. It's going to be good and it's going to be expensive. That's a respect thing. Thank you for putting up with me for a year. I even tell them you're going to come in on your Kelly day because the dude that was always being displaced out of his house because you had to be there, he's going to enjoy that dinner too. So that's a thank you. Sure. So we may need to teach them how to cook, how to shop. I mean, good Lord, you send them loose. You say, like, here's the money. We need you to send the ambulance out to go shopping. And they spend the entire dinner fund, that's supposed to last you a few months in one meal.
You are so right, bro. You're so right.
You're going to go psychotic on those guys.
Yeah.
If dinner should be $5-6 a person. So if you turn around saying dinner's $10 or $15 a person, somebody's going to choke the shit out of you when you're sleeping. So, these are things that we're showing these guys coming in. It's not about riding the fire engine. That's part of it. But it's also about surviving because eventually they're going to move out of mom and dad's basement and they're going to have their own house. So they're going to want to keep that clean. And you know what? You're never going to attract a spouse or, or a boyfriend or a girlfriend if you're a pig. So, we need to teach them to be adults. And like you said, we went from age 21, we dropped it down to 18. It's always been 18 in Montgomery County. So we're teaching them life skills as well as, fire skills. So you as that mentor, you are their dad. And, they're not far off by calling you dad, because you're teaching them the things that maybe they weren't being taught at home. I can tell you right now, my kids know how to load a dishwasher. They know how to empty the trash. They know how to clean the bathroom and vacuum. They may not want to do it, but they do know how to do it, especially cutting the grass and all that stuff. So it's a lot that go into the new guys. So let's pivot a little bit. I want to talk about something that I like to talk about when we talk about mentors. Preparing somebody for that next level. They've got their firefighting skills. They've been on the job for a handful of years and they want to promote up to lieutenant or to that first line supervisor. I've long said that we do a piss poor job in the fire service as a whole, preparing that firefighter to become a lieutenant. And what I mean is that at least the fire departments in the Mid Atlantic region, the Washington metropolitan region, from the stations that I know, you can go from firefighter 3 or senior firefighter, take your promotional exam, get on the list, maybe go through your 5 days of officer candidate school, and then get promoted all within that same month because there was 6 lieutenants vacancies and you scored well on the test. So you go from riding the back step or the back of an ambulance to the front seat of a fire engine with zero fire experience. So let's touch on that a little bit, RJ. And how do we overcome that? How have you overcome that? I know you and I talked about that. What do we do with these new lieutenants when they get promoted? Most of the time, they go on the detail trail. So not only are they a brand new lieutenant with no experience, we put them in a firehouse where the captain is probably off. So now they're functioning as a captain. So you're expecting them to function 2 levels above where they were a week ago. And to me, that's a recipe for disaster.
No, you're right, man. It really is. To answer your question, man, I don't know how we fix it, right? Because every department's different. Everybody has a different setup, different layout, different program, right? Um, it's funny. I was having this conversation the other day with a buddy of mine, a guy I respect on the job, and we were talking about how people love the job to the point where when they get off work, they're listening to calls on their scanner app. They're engaged in what's happening with their department. They're getting intel about how things went on a call or so on and so forth. So, there's so many people that are into the job that, if even if they're not being mentored, they're going to go on their own to get training. They're going to go get classes, fire dynamics, fire behavior, different things that, other fire service leaders are teaching to get that experience through them or from them, I should say, to bring back to the job and just make themselves better. These are the guys who are pretty much self-teaching themselves. You know what I mean? Like it really is one of those things where, you have the, I guess, drive per se is the good word. The drive to teach yourself, to mentor yourself. Not only that, to reach out to somebody you respect and trust to get that information. It's kind of hard, man, because, especially when you have departments smaller in size, it's kind of hard to double up a person with somebody else because now you're creating a spot somewhere else or a hole somewhere else. It's kind of hard to double up. I don't really know if I have the solution to how you fix that. I know that our department, we do a OCS school, which is a couple days long. And to be honest with you, when I got promoted, Dave, my promotion took place during COVID. So my OCS school is virtual. You know what I mean? So like it's one of those things where, I think that everybody's trying to do it the best way they can, which is hold some kind of training. But, I think the best thing that you do is, and you have continuous training, right? Where you come back for a year and do, like a command or incident, where you run the thing. I think, by doing something like that, that opens up your door for not only your officers to stay sharp, but continuously show that they're staying up on top of the policies, procedures, or the tactics that are out there. I don't know, man. I really I can't. I gotta be honest with you. I don't know how the fire service can fix that. What do you think?
I know my fix would cost money. It all costs money. I think that's where you'll find that people with volunteer experience that are hired and they continue to volunteer. On the volunteer world, you get more hands on, more riding the apparatus. There's times where you may get thrown into the front seat. Um, you get to see how the officer works when running calls and reading map books and things like that. On the career side, we run these recruits for, is it 26 weeks is a recruit class?
Yeah, we do 28.
28 weeks. So for 28 weeks we teach them how to be a basic firefighter, but for 5 days we teach them how to take 4 people's lives in their hands and make split second decisions with crappy information. And
Yeah.
to me, what is the answer? I don't know. I look at the at the military. Obviously, you and I talked about this online. I talk about it quite often. They have a track when you become a corporal or a sergeant, in those non-commissioned positions, but they go to school to learn how to do that. I don't know how long the school is, but I know it's longer than 5 days. When you become a commissioned officer, whether you're a lieutenant, captain or whatever, you go through, whether it's Army Leadership School or Marines or what have you. It's intense training to learn how to lead people, not only in battle, but the administrative side as well. Um, the military has the flexibility to doing that because they can pull, three, four, 100, whatever people when there's a million people in one organization. In our organization, we're pushing 500 people. You take six people off the floor, well, that's like two firehouses basically,
Yeah.
and to backfill that is overtime. Um, so that's probably not the answer because it costs money. But then you start having to get into that dilemma or into that moral conversation: is what's more important, the overtime that I may have to pay for those people to be off the floor to really get a good in-depth officer candidate school, or somebody making a poor decision and hurting or killing a brother firefighter or a civilian. And I'm not trying to be dramatic, but we all know that when you make mistakes on the fire ground, they can lead to some pretty severe consequences. So in my perfect world, when you decide that you're going to be a lieutenant, obviously you've got the time and grade, you've got the classes that go with that. If there's any college component, you've got that as well. You take the test, you pass the test, you get on the list. Everybody that's on that list, they go for a very in-depth officer candidate school that's going to teach you not only how to ride the front seat of a fire apparatus, how to make decisions with ever changing information, how to manage people, how to tackle the administrative stuff, um, how to, uh, you know, find answers to questions that you have when it's you that has to have that answer, how to navigate the HR world, how to navigate the EEO and sexual harassment world, all of that stuff that you're going to get mired into. Well, you need to know how to do that. And that's longer than 5 days. I think in a perfect world, it'd be a month. And that's like a month on day work. So you're going to be on day work 5 days a week for 5 weeks. That's a start. So now you're talking, larger departments, they may be able to handle that. They may be able to absorb that impact. But for smaller departments, with 500 or less employees, it's very difficult. But again, at the end of the day, we want the best people riding the front seat, making decisions with incomplete or bad information, and be able to change on the fly
Yeah.
as things change. So it's a
100%.
it's a it's a tall ask, it's a tall order. Um, but at the end of the day, I think instead of reinventing the wheel, we should really be reaching out to our partners in the military world and saying, how do you do it? Or help us come up with something that is condensed but still has maximum impact. So it's not a fiscal impact on the organization. Or we may have to raise our budgets when we start to budget the fire service, and we produce our budget. So that might be another line item of officer candidate school. And then you get into, okay, well, that handles the lieutenants. What about the captains?
Yeah.
What about the battalion chiefs? You know? So, your training budget may increase dramatically in order to make sure that we're producing the best riding our apparatus and we're giving them the tools to succeed. Because they'll tell you that we want you to succeed, but you need to give us the tools to do that.
Yep. 100%. I agree, man.
So I don't know what the answer is. It's something that I bring up often. and I even tell the recruits when they go to graduate, not in Frederick, but when I was in Montgomery, is like, and I tell them, and even when we teach, I tell them, don't let recruit school be the best training you've ever had.
Yeah.
You have to build on that. You get 26, 28 weeks of intense fire training, 5 days a week, fire, EMS, rescue, hazmat, um, PT, the whole 9 yards. You get that for 26 to 28 weeks. Don't let that be the best training you ever had. You need to continue to develop yourself and make yourself better. The only way you can do that is by physically training and taking classes. You can't learn everything off of YouTube. I mean, YouTube's a good resource, but it can't be the sole resource. So you really have to inundate yourself with classes. And that may even mean shelling out some money out of your pocket to go to some different classes that are outside your organization that cost money.
Well,
There's a lot of
that wasn't even a issue for my guys.
no.
That wasn't even an issue for my guys, man. My guys got to go to so much good training because I was there, and I was there teaching training. And I told them, I said, "Listen, man, get in the truck. We're going for a ride." My one of my guys been out of recruit school, probably say a month, and he was going with me to. We were going up to do live fire training in real houses. So, he had no previous experience volunteering, anything like that. He hadn't ever fought a fire in a real house, not even in his 26, 28 week fire camp. So his first fire was a training fire where he got to go inside, stretch a line. He got to operate on a line in a real fire. He got to play a role of the truck company. He got to open up a plaster and latch ceiling with fire moving above it. So, like, he got good experience. And my other guy, he got the chance to, travel with me. I got to the point, Dave, to be honest with you, it got to the point that I was really comfortable with the fact that these guys knew a lot about the job, that I would bring them along with me to help me teach. Not necessarily teach, but just to be there to absorb more information, to learn how to teach other people. That's the other thing, right? I had to spend some time teaching them, listen, man, this is how you talk to people. This is how you teach other people. This is how you reach other people. And I let them mentor us when they were, they come to different training events that we were at, and they got to see what and how we were teaching people. They got a chance to do the same thing too. So, yeah, man, there's so many different avenues now for fire training in the United States of America. Almost every state or every other state or a state next to a state has some kind of conference that you can go to, except Florida. Florida has like 10 different conferences. But, there's always a place that you can go to now that's affordable to get training. And even as a mentor, right? There was a training that I took the guys to in upstate New York. I drove them up there. I said, guys, we're gonna go and we're gonna sit in the class. I'm gonna sit in the same class with you. We'll learn together. We drove up. We had a good time. We stayed in Brooklyn. We checked out the Brooklyn Bridge. We got to go visit our buddies from Capitol that were working at different companies. They got to see all the rescue companies in New York City, and we got to go learn. We went and learned, sat down in the class. I sat down with them. That's the biggest thing. You got to lead by example, right? They got to see that you're willing to learn the stuff too, even if you don't know it. You're willing to learn with them. I sat down in the class. I got to be honest, it was pretty boring. But the fact that they were giving up their weekend to go learn, I sat right there with them. So it's one of those things where like you were saying, man. Sometimes it just might end up being that you have to do just a little bit more outside of the academy. And honestly, and if there's anybody listening that's a mentor, I would tell the mentor the same thing. Like, hey, man, you lead the way. You take them, go with them. And plus, it's also great networking. You know that. I'm not trying to tell you that, but it's great networking just to go out with some guys from your job, teach them something, or you learn something, or everybody learns something, and you meet new people in the process. That's what else can you want in the fire service?
No, I agree 100%. I think that, the networking is important, and you get to listen to what other people are saying about, their fire service, and they'll find that the problems that they're seeing in that fire service is the same that you're seeing where you are. It's all the same. And that's one of the advantages. Like I said, you bought your firefighters to a lot of the training that we did with Capital Fire, because I remember seeing a handful of Frederick guys coming through there, and the advantage to them was that they didn't have to pay for that training, so they got some good training with some excellent instructors. Maybe I'm a little biased, but
That's a fact.
but they got to experience things that you're not learning at the training academy, or that you're learning on the job in the station. Um, but it's important to understand that there is a lot of training out there, and you really need to take advantage of it. Even if you have to shell out the money out of your pocket, it's an investment in your career. But a lot of times you'll find that there is money set aside for training in the budget. I know, at least on the volunteer services side, we make sure that we set aside money in the budget for training for volunteers that want to go and take external training outside of the fire, outside of the of Frederick, and they need a little bit of help with the financial costs. So we can do that, but I know, in Montgomery County, when I was there, you could do stuff called ETAP, which is education tuition assistance, or you could do JTAP, which was job education assistant tuition assistance, and you could get reimbursed for that. Now that money went pretty fast, but I'm not sure if they have something like that in Frederick. They might, but they need to take advantage of that. And at the end of the day, if you have to shell out the money out of your pocket, and some of them can be quite pricey. But like you said, there are so many conferences that are going around. It doesn't have to be the big conferences that you got to shell out $1,300-$1,400 for. You could go to conferences with some really good instructors, and you may be surprised that you're seeing the same instructors that are teaching at Firehouse or Fire Engineering, the books that you read for your promotional. You'll see those instructors teaching at these smaller venues because they enjoy getting their message out. So you might have to shell out $200-$300 for a weekend, and then the cost of a room or something like that if you're spending the night, and you get really good training for a decent price.
Yeah, 100%. You can't beat that, man.
Yep. So we're coming down to the witching hour, RJ, as Frank Ritchie always likes to say. But we got a chance to really dig into this mentorship, and I think it's important that you, as members of the fire service, take these new people under your wing. You hear the bitching from the senior members, like, these new people that are coming in, they're not like we were, blah blah blah. So show them what it's like to be like you were. These are new people that may have never had any experience in the fire service at all, coming from all walks of life, and all they need is to have that light shining on this job about how great it is, the camaraderie, the brotherhood, the second family, the friends that you're going to make until you retire, and then you continue with that friendship as you leave the fire service. We need to show them how great this is, and that's how you foster that those young people to be into the job. They may never be into the job as you are, but that's okay. As long as they are showing up to work and they are putting 100% in, they are trying to strive to be the best that they can be. That's all we're asking for. So take these people under your wing. You don't have to be asked to be a mentor. It's an organic thing, as Sam likes to say. You see somebody, there might be a little spark. Maybe they're not getting the attention that they need. Pull them under the wing. Ask them questions. You might find out that they are truly want to do the best that they can, but they don't know where to start. And that's where you come in.
Yep. Hey, before you close this out, I would like to give a shout out to my two guys that I did mentor. I just want to say that I'm proud of them every day, every opportunity I get to see them. Obviously, since being promoted, I don't necessarily work with them anymore. But Austin Kessler, which we called Marshall, because he he resembled Eminem, so we used to call him Marshall Mathers, but we called him Marshall. And Kyle Pena, both two good dudes who put a lot into the job, and both of them came into the fire service with zero experience coming into it, with no volunteer background, didn't know anything about the job other than what they learned in academy. And Marshall after his rookie year, received the Rookie of the Year award for the entire department. And then Pinion actually uh, came in a real close second place to another rookie at the end of his rookie time. And I just actually want to say that I'm every day I look at these guys making a difference in our department, changing the game, being the mentor, teaching these younger guys coming on a job not only the stuff that I taught them, but the stuff that they learned on their own. And honestly, Dave, sometimes, and we didn't talk about this, but sometimes it takes a young person to teach a young person, right? So these younger guys who are younger than me sharing their experiences of how they survived their rookie year with these other young guys who are coming in. I could not be more proud of these two guys, and what they've taken this job to be based off of how they got it. So, I just wanted to shout them out real quick before we close this out, and just let them know that every day I'm proud of them, and thank them. I thank them for upholding the traditions and upholding what you or I or other guys that we teach will all stand for. When these guys didn't get that from anywhere else other than what we shared with them.
And I would be remiss if I didn't say for you to give a shout out to Capital Fire Training and where people can reach you and to see the content that you're putting on the internet. So give that information out there too.
Yeah, thanks. Capital Fire Training LLC. You can find us on all of your social media platforms: Facebook, Capital Fire Training; Twitter, Capital Fire Training; Instagram, Capital_Fire_Training. And we also have a website, www.capitalfiretraining.com, where you can check out the content, check out the things that we're doing, the places we are going, the training that we're doing. For anybody who is in that mentorship role and wants to do training with your mentees. Is that the right word, mentee?
I don't know. We'll use it now. I don't
Sounds
care.
good. Any mentor that's out there doing training and mentoring somebody, and you want to take them or bring them to a training, hit me up, hit Dave up, hit any of the guys up from Capital. Tell us what you're trying to do. We will make it so that you guys can get there. We can make it so that you guys can get in there. If we're full, if the classes are full, we'll squeeze you guys in. We want to make sure that the value of sharing knowledge, passing knowledge on, continues. So, Dave, thanks for allowing us to do that shameless plug real quick. But
Absolutely.
the fact that we can allow other people to keep doing what we stand for, that's important to all of us. So,
Absolutely. Well, RJ, thanks for being on the show, and this will be coming on for September. So, with that, again, see you out on the fire ground.
all right, brother. I'll talk to you soon.
See you
later.
Thanks for listening to this month's Side Alpha Leadership. You can reach us on the web at www.sidealphaleadership.com. We're on social media, on Instagram at Side Alpha Leadership, on Twitter at Leadership Side, and on Facebook for Side Alpha Leadership.